How do you discuss the difference between appraised value versus market value to a difficult seller? This is from Sherry. Thank you, Sherry. Good question.
You're welcome.
That's a great question, Sherry, and it's really hard. But in a nutshell, it's something like this. I will, especially in my analysis that I do later or in person sometimes, but I will say, I think that your house market value is between, let's say, 900 and a million. And I say, that being said, in big, bold letters, I think it may only appraise for 880 to 9. I think the market may be able to bear, or there might be demand at the $1 million range, but I think we're going to have to acquire a buyer who is willing to come in to pay the appraisal gap difference, or you might have to be willing to lower to the appraisal amount, unfortunately, because the comps are what they are. And essentially your house is over improved for the neighborhood. It is a beautiful house. It is exceptional. And I think the right buyer will see that. Whether or not they can pay the difference between the appraised value and the market value is an open question.
Actually, what I'm talking about is sometimes they already have an appraisal and they think that they should not sell for anything less than that because they were given this value from a licensed professional. And then there's sometimes like right now where it's like, yeah, maybe well, not really right now, but maybe the appraised value is higher, but that's not necessarily where the market value is. And sometimes it switches. Sometimes there is a market value that's higher than the appraised value. Some markets it's less, but it's a difficult thing to get somebody to that's what I'm saying. Sometimes the market value is actually less than the appraised value. And I know that people feel that it should be exactly the same, but it's not an exact science.
Yeah, yeah. A couple of different things. One, I would call into question the credibility of that appraiser based on market knowledge. Like, unfortunately, that's kind of what I have to do sometimes. I don't know if you have an opportunity to call the appraiser, ask about the comps, ask why he chose certain comps that you know are inferior, and actually like destroy the credibility of the appraisal if you need to go that direction. That's like a last resort. It takes a lot of work, but especially if the appraiser is like from Gilbert or something, you can say, listen, I hear where you're coming from, but this appraiser spent a couple of hours in our neighborhood and is an expert on analysis, but is not an expert on this house and not an expert on each block like you and I are. And we know that the appraisers are largely going based on square footage and based on not seeing the inside of houses. I can tell you, I've seen the inside of these 3 houses. They are not, they're, well,
I'm actually saying, like, if you have a difficult listing, like I have a difficult listing that I had pre-appraised by an appraiser that I love. She's very, very good. But then to say, this is where we can start because the values were all over the board, but this does not mean this is where we're going to end.
yeah,
That's what I was talking about. Because
yeah,
I'm talking about a bad appraiser. I'm just talking about the difference between market value and appraised value. No, it's funny because my appraiser was like, well, they should be the same. I'm like, well, they should, but they're not.
yeah. In that case, you could be talking about a declining market or you could be talking about stagnant market. Remember that appraisals take data in arrears. So they're taking data that just happened months ago, right? And right now, you and I know that the market is very different right now than it was in September. So I mean, I think everybody's seeing that, right? You're feeling a flux of buyers. So remember, when appraisers come and appraise, they're only appraising the last 3 to 6 months. So you have the real-time market data. The most salient measure of value is what a current willing buyer will pay for it. That's
That's
what the
that's a
appraisal
great
guide
quote.
wanted. Okay.
That's what I love. That was a great quote.
The most
Sorry.
salient indicator of value is a current buyer who is willing, able, knowledgeable, arm's length, all that. That is your indicator of value. The proof is in the pudding. If the market is not bearing you a buyer and you have exposed the marketplace to the listing that is well marketed, that's the answer.